Morning, everyone. We'll see if this works out. We're trying to stream to like 8 platforms, maybe, and we got 5 people on, and someone may maybe joining us a little bit at the end, but we'll see if he makes it on. But good morning, everyone. Oh
Good
man,
morning.
Ned messing
Morning.
audio may not be working. We'll see. But yeah, good morning. How's everyone doing? How's everyone weekend?
Good.
Good. I'm on break,
All
so
right,
every
so
day
we all
is the
kind of
day.
know each other. Yeah, so Curtis, we got Curtis on PE turned RE. So why don't you kind of fill everyone in a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so I'm a teacher here in Pierce County, Washington. I started 2 years ago
Hear me
in the
now?
investing world, and I've done 2 house hacks so far, up to 5 doors.
Nice. What part of Washington did you say you're
And
in?
tell
Yeah, Pierce County, about 45 minutes south of Seattle.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. I'm from Idaho, so I was just wondering like what part of the state you
Oh
were
yeah,
in.
I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
Traveled through Washington a few times so far. Absolutely gorgeous area of the country. I try to fly up there and travel around as much as I can. Like between all the national parks up there, it's absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the summer time to actually hit because it's been raining still. But once the sun comes out, oh man, it is nice.
Yeah.
all right, and I posted Curtis's new YouTube channel in the comments. So PE turned on, so go check it out. But yeah, so let's kind of so I'm in the time school community, and there was a question. I said, oh, this might be a great topic for us to talk about, and kind of what a buy box is. What a buy box is. So she follows Zuber, and she hears Zuber always talking about what is a buy box, and I thought maybe we can discuss what our buy boxes are and what a buy box really is. So yeah, one of you can start. Whoever wants to start.
Sure. Essentially, a buy box. All that is, it's a set of criteria that you give either a broker or agent. Essentially, you're telling them exactly what it is you're looking for a real estate property. Like, what's the size? What's the price range? What's the year? What kind of things are you willing to give up? What is the total condition? That way, the agent or broker actually knows exactly which of the properties they're listing through to present to you. That way, it's kind of a mutual respect of both your times where you don't want to have to go looking at properties that are outside of your buy box because you're not going to be interested in buying it. And the real estate agent, they're going to save their time by making sure they're presenting you with properties that can also only benefit them because they are properties that legitimately you may be interested in purchasing through them.
Yep. Great explanation. My buy box for my Airbnbs, I knew exactly what I wanted, and it made it so easy for my realtor because when something came up that she thought was in my buy box, she would immediately send it to me. And so it's a good way to like be first to get the listings or to hear about the properties, because if people know exactly what you're looking for, then it's great to for them to be able to go, oh, this is perfect for that person. So my buy box for my Airbnbs is at least 3 bedrooms in a certain area, a certain part of town, and it has to have a pool. So, because I'm in Florida, it was a big differentiator for Airbnbs. Only 14% of the Airbnbs in my area have a pool, and it's the number one search criteria that people put in when they add like what amenities they want. So for me, I was like, okay, this is going to make it so that during the slow season in the summertime, I'm going to be the one that gets booked because I have a pool when all the rest of the properties most likely don't.
We had pretty similar when I was looking at getting Airbnb for myself in New Orleans. We were also very, very stringent about exactly what location we wanted to purchase it in. Where our goal was to find a family friendly area that was at, like French Quarter is fun, but I would not call that family friendly. Plus, the French Quarter itself does not really allow Airbnbs at all. So we went to the second most popular neighborhood in New Orleans, the uptown/Garden District area. A lot more quiet, a lot more family friendly. So we wanted to make sure we found a property in that area, right next to the public transportation that still takes people to the French Quarter. So that was our big selling point: is we're able to offer a clean, safe area for families to stay in while they're in New Orleans. That still can easily take them to the French Quarter within a 10-minute drive or 15-minute drive by the streetcar.
Yeah.
Man, Ned, I didn't realize you had 69 subscribers on your channel. I was trying to find. I was gonna post your link, and I said, "Well, I mean, that's 69 now. It's just like 50, like the other week, like last week."
It's slowly going up. Is my
Yeah, what
mic
did-
working now?
Yeah, man. So, what's your
okay.
buy box look like?
My buy box is always the yield in the New Orleans area, Stan knows, is not always great. But there's a local stigma around the West Bank, so it's an area right across the river, and it's just less popular with locals. So I've always, or at least recently, I've been focusing over there just because there's more cash flow, but the property quality is about the same. You know, so my buy box is West Bank. I tend to shoot for three to 4 units, but I'm considering starting to invest in another city with the rental changes that New Orleans is starting to make.
Oh.
So,
What city are you looking at?
I'm thinking as far as New Hampshire, but maybe maybe just Hammond. It's right across the lake, so it's about an hour away. So that would mean that, I mean, that's where I moved to. So this is where I'm living now. So it's still within an hour drive of the rental properties I already have. It's a college town. I don't know the buy box yet. So I'm literally just working it out right now. So that's kind of my main thing as far as residential properties go.
Nice. My buy box is a small multi-family within an hour of my work. That's as far out as my lender would let me look, and so that's great. There's not really a price per se, because with multifamily it can range a bit, like depending on what the layout of it is. As for new investors, I think they all know what a buy box is if they've seen like HGTV, because they're talking about their needs and their wants all the time on that, but they just won't call it like a buy box. So I think if they can kind of shift their mind, that they already know, just a new term.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lauren, I saw you posted something, your equestrian property,
Yes.
right? So, is there, like, would you say that has a buy box, like those type of investments?
Yes, they do. It more, I would say, definitely location wise. I have a buy box for those. They have to be in a certain area. The buy box is a little bit different because it can fluctuate based on what the property looks like, how much work it needs. So I guess it would be it's kind of the way that you would look at a buy box for if you were like flipping houses. So you have to run your numbers on it. So like for single family homes, when I'm flipping a house, I will go in, and if I usually say I don't want to do electrical and plumbing, but every once in a while I will, but then the price of the house has to be much, much lower for me to want to go in and deal with all of that. So with the equestrian properties, it depends on, how nice the house is. Is there a barn, or do I need to add a barn? Is there an arena? Are there paddocks? Like, what's the fencing like? Is the land cleared? So there's a lot more variables in it, but yeah, essentially it's the same as if you were like going to look at a property that you were going to flip, and you're going, okay, how much do I need to put into this to get it rentable? So there is a buy box, but it's more based off of location and less about what the property has or doesn't have, or how much I'm going to put into it.
Has your guys' buy boxes changed quite a bit since the beginning of your guys' real estate journey?
For me,
Oh,
it absolutely has. When I first started off buying properties. My very first investment property was just a single family home. Back then, the concept of multifamily never really stood out to me. I always drove by like these giant apartment complexes, and I thought that was way outside anything I'd ever be able to do. So I'm just kind of picking apart. Okay, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. That seems very popular right now. I'll just get those. After the very first single family home I bought, my realtor advised me to start looking into multifamilies. Essentially, I found out that buying something as a fourplex is the same exact method as buying a single family home. So after our first single family home, we jumped into fourplexes, and that's been our focus ever since. We bought one fourplex, and we bought another fourplex, and even now we're looking at making the next jump up of going from residential properties to commercial residential. So trying to get a 10 unit to 20 unit is going to be our next goal in the next couple of years.
Nice. Sorry, I'm trying to find the comments in my. I can't get it on the screen, but cool. So I posted Ned's YouTube channel since he's growing so quickly. Waiting for Lauren's one to come out, but yeah.
Yeah, big thanks to you, Mark.
No, so have you and Stan got to connect and walk some properties that you and Matt did?
We had coffee yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So, but I think he's about to head back out to the rig. So.
Yeah, have to head back out early in the morning tomorrow, do another 3-week hitch out there.
So do you guys use any tools to develop your buy box or look for properties?
Well, I'm a realtor. So if I see a property that I'm interested in, I just go walk it. And I first off, I've always hated using realtors because you got to do things by their schedule, and then they don't want to look at 100 properties with you. You feel like you're wasting their time. And whereas if you got a realtor license, usually realtors are lazy and they're like, yeah, just go open the lockbox and go check the house out. So I can go check out 20 houses when I'm bored on a day. And it's just kind of like one thing I do to burn time. But also, it's hard to find a hobby where you don't spend a lot of money. So if you're always walking properties and checking stuff out, kind of switches the script where you can make money with your hobby. And I've always been kind of a property nerd, or I feel like I became one more so over time.
For realtors, I've just gotten lucky where I've always been able to work with great realtors that were willing to, as many properties I wanted to walk, they were willing to walk as many as I was willing to walk. So that part I was fairly lucky with. Now I have a handful of realtors that I work with inside New Orleans. I've got a realtor I work with back in Lafayette. But if I didn't have as good realtors as I currently work with, then I can't imagine me having the same portfolio I have right now.
Want to give out a shout out to Old Guy REI. Frank is here. I posted his YouTube channel in the comments, and he came out with a cool one. You guys should go check it out. It was called Let's Be Frank. He came up with a cool title for his one of his videos. So go check that one out. He put a lot of work. He put a lot of effort into that one too. But yeah, Frank's doing cool stuff, and he's also he's gonna be a bigger part of the school community. So he's gonna have like accountability groups. So he was doing like a Wednesday Zoom call, and kind of Zuber kind of found out about it. So he kind of asked Frank to maybe bring that over to the school side to kind of incorporate that into like an accountability group. So he's going to be doing that tonight in the school community. So if you're in the school community, come check it out. But yeah. Let's see what else we got.
Radio and I kind of do that for the lumberjack landlords course.
Oh, cool. You know what?
Frank Robert Frank.
What? I actually, so you and Radion on Landlord Odyssey just did a video too, right? And kind of talking about finding a market and kind of maybe around buy box. So that's also why, what you guys touched on that one. That was pretty cool stuff. Like,
I recorded that like a month ago. I can't remember what I was talking about. Yeah,
well, I'll post Radion's channel also in here because he has some cool stuff, and he does a lot of renovation type stuff. So. But
Yeah.
Radion's very hands-on. I think it's kind of an interesting dichotomy where I'm kind of hands-off because I've got a lot of other stuff going on. But Radeon likes getting in the weeds, but that's not necessary. Obviously, you can get better yield if you do that. You can take on stuff other people can't. Maybe you get started a little faster in the beginning if you could do some stuff yourself without needing more capital. But it's not my thing.
So what do you guys see? Do you guys think people in the beginning, their buy boxes are maybe too much information in it, or maybe they need to be around other people to have a better idea how to form a buy box?
I think at first people are they're not really sure what qualities you need. A big part of getting good at real estate as an investor, in my opinion, is getting to know the area very well. So people have a general idea of, oh, I want to invest in this city, but they don't know going past that, okay, like which neighborhoods are the ones that are going to attract people the most? What are the specific amenities that different neighborhoods have? Like, they don't always understand the importance of what school district is a specific house tied to. For example, before I moved to New Orleans, I was investing in a small town called Youngsville, Louisiana, which is right outside a town called Lafayette. The very first house I purchased, one of the big things that we really focused on was a specific neighborhood. And the reason that neighborhood is so popular is because it's associated with one of the best schools in the area. So purely because of that link with the school, every single time we had to find a new tenant, we were able to place a tenant, like a new lease was signed, everything before the old tenant even moved out. So a tenant would move out on the 30th, and the new tenant would move in on 5 days later on the 5th, just so we had a few days to clean up the property at all. But because of that, like the amenities and the location we chose, it makes it a lot easier for us to find quality tenants without needing to put too much effort into it.
Yeah, and I think it kind of depends on what tools that you have, because kind of the longer you're in the game, the more tools that you can get. Like I started with multifamily, but now I've kind of expanded my buy box to like single like family. But if it has like a basement or something like that, that I now have the skill and know how to budget to make it actual like the livable space. So I think the buy box is kind of ever evolving.
Yeah, I think the thing that when I was starting out, my big question was, what is this going to rent for? So, in order to do all your calculations, you have to know what you can get for the property. And especially with Airbnb, it can be kind of variable. With a long-term tenant, you could ask people what they're renting their properties for, and that's where like networking and getting into the community that you're buying in is so important, because I went to a local real estate meetup and I started asking everyone like, "Oh, can I see your properties? Oh, what have you done?" And asking them to show me their places and what their places are renting for, so that I could get an idea of what the after numbers were going to be, so that I could be able to say, okay, this house is priced too high. I'll never be able to, cover the mortgage based on the numbers that it's going to rent for, or vice versa. Like, oh, this is a really great deal with how much this is going to rent for. So I think that's one of the keys, that if you're starting out, it can feel like, well, how am I supposed to know what this is going to rent for? And there's tools like for Airbnbs, there's tools like AirDNA that you can use to get some of the numbers, but those aren't even really, they're not exactly accurate because they don't differentiate between amenities. So if you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, that's going to be lumped in whether it has a pool and a hot tub or if it has just a really small backyard. So you have to keep that in mind, that there are lots of little variables. But I think as you do more and more, you start to learn the nuances of everything. Like you can walk through a property and go, oh, wow, this has a really great layout, or this just has like some sort of little charm to it that makes me think that somebody's going to love this place and really want to rent it. So I think you just have to like start, and every single property is not going to be like the home run that you want it to be, but if you start looking at a lot of properties, because even if you don't have the money and you don't know what your buy box is, just start looking at properties, because you might learn a lot along the way just from looking at them. And I know it feels like Ned was saying, like, if you're working with a realtor, you feel bad because you're wasting their time, but you just have to realize that you're going to be in the game for a long time, and find somebody who's willing to like go on that journey with you and put in the time and the work to show you a bunch of properties until you can like get your footing and your understanding. So, yeah, it's very, I feel like the buy box is very like simple and yet nuanced at the same time. Like as you get further along your journey, you get really clear on like what you're looking for.
One of the things I always did to protect my realtor's time was before I went to look at the property, I made sure they send me the entire data sheet they have. That way I know what the property is. I can estimate what is rent going to be. I can run my numbers on the property before stepping foot on the property. If the property doesn't match my numbers, then there's no reason for me to waste my time or the realtor's time to go walk the property. So that's one of those ways I made sure to respect their time. For the stuff you were mentioning before with AirDNA and trying to estimate STRs, one thing that I wanted to do to make sure, like when we bought our property for Airbnb, was we ran all the numbers as a long-term rental. Just because right now I know that there's many areas around the country that Airbnb, short-term rentals, whatever you want to call them, they're a politically hot topic. So we knew that, for example, New York just flat out banned them. Miami banned them. New Orleans came out with new regulations last year that heavily regulated them. Palm Springs banned them. So it's one of those markets where it's so new and they're just starting to catch up to regulation. So we didn't want to be in a position where we ran the numbers as a short term and then we were forced to pivot and are no longer profitable because of it. So
that is such a good point. Yeah, that's such a good point, because I do the exact same thing, run it as if it were a long-term rental, because you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Like at the very least, we wanted to make sure we can break even as a long-term rental, which we, if we had to pivot, this property would break even, but there's definitely substantially more profit in it as a short-term rental, especially when we get into peak season.
Yeah, I would say your rent box is probably just as important as the buy box.
Yep. Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Let's see. Let me see. Question here. Anyone else too? I also posted Lauren's Instagram and Stan's Instagram if you guys want to give them a follow. But have you had any experiences where ignoring your buy box, I assume, resulted in a poor investment decision?
Me.
Ooh, okay, all right, he's right. All right, go ahead, man.
I have had moments where I've gone on vacation, or let's say I'm like when I'm really in the mode where I'm buying or looking to buy, I've literally woken up late and gone like, oh, that property's it's pending. So poor investment for me is not being able to make a move. I've seen a lot of properties that would have made perfect deals, but because I was ignoring my buy box, I missed opportunities. And so my I don't know, that's kind of flipping that question on its head. But if you're studying your market, you can probably relax and look at your buy box whenever you want. But if you're looking to make moves, especially if the market's kind of hot, there's nothing wrong with waking up at 5 a.m. to look at your buy box. So
that was going to be kind of my next question, maybe. Or do you think your buy box has like levels to it? Like where, like you're saying, maybe you have a buy box just to kind of see if a property is worth looking deeper into. So like you have a more general buy box. So, okay, I'm interested in this. Then, okay, let's take a deeper look at it. Then your buy box is at another level where there's a little more information you want. And then there's actually one where you're maybe going to put in an offer. That's your buy box. So would you say there's levels to it?
Oh, absolutely. We have the initial buy box where it just needs to make financial sense, where we just need numbers on the property. We need to know how much it's going to take in rent. And then if we know what our profit is going to be on that property. Then we take it to the next level and start looking for looking at the property. But there's so many red flags that can come up that is going to make us walk away flat out. Like if we walk in and all of a sudden there's foundational issues, that's work that we're not willing to do. If there's structural issues, that's not work we're willing to do. So there's many things that would make us just walk away. If we walk into a property and it's, for example, an open house and there's a complete packed open house and it really seems like there's about to be a bidding war, we'll put in the offer that we think is going to be fair and that's going to help our numbers. But we did not get involved in any bidding wars. The New Orleans property that we purchased, it was actually at the very height of the entire buying frenzy that happened 2 years ago. So there were several properties that we walked away from purely because the offers coming in $50K over asking. And as soon as that $50K over asking came up, it's like, well, this is clearly not going to make us a profit anymore. It's going to be far more high risk. So we always made sure to stick with our buy boxes.
Yeah. I feel like I've ignored I bought a property from a wholesaler, and that, like I said, I don't like doing electrical and plumbing, and I ignored my buy box, and I was like, it should be fine. Like, it doesn't look that bad. I had to redo all of the electrical, pretty much all of the plumbing. I had to put in a new septic system. Like, it ended up being so much more than I anticipated. And this is where a really good inspector is important also. And I found, if you don't know of course, if you're just starting out, you're like, how do I find an inspector? You can literally just Google like inspectors in your area and they'll have Google reviews and just choose someone who has the best reviews. Or find, if you have a trusted like realtor or something, they probably have worked with a lot of inspectors. But I ignored my buy box and I luckily still did well on the property because of the timing of it. And I had gotten it for such a cheap price. It worked out, but took way longer, cost way more money, and was way more of a headache than I anticipated. So I try not to go outside my buy box anymore.
That's definitely a very good point. Like, don't cheap out on the inspector. Don't try to save $50 or $100 by getting a less than ideal inspector. But I'll flat admit, this last property, we paid $500 for the inspection. We knew that there was a good chance that if the inspection didn't come back, that'd be $500 we'd never see again. But your options are: do you want to lose $500 now, or do you want to lose $50,000 later because there's a bunch of other stuff that was wrong with the property that you never knew about and you didn't account for? So an inspector is like, they're worth their weight in gold and saving you money down the line.
Yeah, and you probably want more than one. I'd probably say get at least 3 because they may not be there when you actually need them, just depending on what the schedule's like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw that episode, but Ned kind of we were talking about it, was joking about it, but Ned had a spreadsheet when he was dating. So you kind of have like buy boxes in different, phases of life, right? So you kind of, that's how people make purchases, right? Or make decisions, right? So they have kind of criteria that they follow or looking for. But yeah, I don't know if do you still have, you're married now, but did you keep those sheets, Ned?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Pass them on to the next generation.
No, I mean, I work in the oil and gas industry. Part of what we do is I actually will underwrite oil and gas fields and look at the data on like, hey, this is what the field looks like now, and then if we buy it and it's underperforming, what can we do to make it better? And you do that by looking at different parts of fields and the different productions that they can do, and you kind of have metrics that you tie to different parts. And so what I did, going back to your question earlier, like, do you have different buy boxes or like grids? I kind of have like my 50,000 view buy box, and then as it goes down, it increases. And so I have like stuff as simple as gross rent multiplier. I might look at gross rent multiplier and make 20 or 30 boxes around the city of what averages are in those areas. And I mean, I'm an analyst, so I would not suggest the average person do this. It's a lot of work. And I would literally underwrite every property that came on every day for the entire New Orleans area, which for me is like 20 to 50 properties, depending on what's going on. And I would filter through the data. And if there was an outlier where the metric was like, hey, gross rent multiplier is normally 2, or I'm just making a number up, but this one's 5, like, whoa, let's look at that. It's either on fire or mispriced or something like that. But by looking at what the normal metrics of properties would be, when you see something super out of whack, I say, okay, interesting, and look deeper at that one. I don't know if that makes sense, but it kind of gave me a reason in a city so big, because we've got almost 1 million people here. I was like, I can't look at all of this data, but what I can do is I can filter it and then look at stuff that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found all of my best properties when something's been weird. So one that people don't realize is when price per square foot's too high. That's a huge green flag for me, because it might be more than one building and it might be listed as one.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my best investments ever was property was listed for 3x price per square foot normal for that area. Turned out it was 4 buildings all the same size. So it was actually 25% less than it should be for the building size. And then I got an offer in at about half the value, because it went without an offer for I think 9 or 10 months because it was mislisted.
Wow.
Great advice there.
So I try to filter for real term mistakes, because human error happens way more often than you would think. So the data will show really, really weird stuff. Like if properties are supposed to be $80 a square foot and something's at $390, it's like, wait a minute, is this commercial or what's going on here? Another really easy one anyone can do in any city is go on Zillow and say, all right, I only want to see stuff with, 4 bedrooms plus, and then 5 bedrooms plus, and then click multifamily. You're going to see like 20 plexes that normal realtors got, but don't know how to list on commercial listing list sites. Right. Then just go into, instead of looking at the map, look at a list, sort for price first, and you're going to get all the commercial buildings that are listed by people that aren't commercial realtors. A lot of those are misvalued.
That's gold. That's gold advice right there.
Yeah.
So I have found a lot of properties that way. I haven't bought them all, but I did buy a 20plex for half off.
Nice. Well, so there's I'm not affiliated with them, but there is like Bright Investor and Coffee Closers. Those are 2 great softwares that people use to analyze properties or get market data. So it's kind of like Ned's talking about, there's so much information you can bring up, and some people have all these different tabs open on their computer, but these softwares it's like all in one place where it brings all these data, population growth, crime, school ratings, things like that, and you can find listings. And so Bright Investor and Coffee Closers are 2 softwares that are super helpful to kind of streamline everything. And Coffee Closers, I've been playing around because I got the free trial, but you can form a buy box and you can put in like your investment strategy, whether it's BRRRR, short-term rental, long-term hold, and then it kind of analyzes it that way. And then once you form your buy box, it actually emails you listings that in your market that fit that criteria. So it already emails you like right in the morning, and so you can already take a look at that specific property that came on Zillow or something.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. One of the things I used to do on Zillow was I looked at properties that were listed there for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, the ones that have been staying there for a while, because those are usually the ones that they're not selling. People are more anxious to make a deal at that point, especially the last couple of years where property was selling at hotcakes. If there was a property still sitting there for a couple months, that could potentially be something worth looking further into, because there's probably more room for negotiation on those properties. Yeah.
Another one that's interesting is if you can look at properties where they've been listed for a long time, but the price keeps going up, especially if it's a multi-unit. A lot of developers will buy a property, list it for up whatever their profit margin is that they want, and then as they fix up units, they'll just keep raising the price because whatever margin they want is what they want. And so I don't know if they realize it, but locally that we've got 2 or 3 of these guys, and basically your property looks like a bad one because it's been listed for 200 days, but the price has gone up 14 times. And so the deal is either getting better, and there's less and less people looking at it because the property's improving. So it's more within whatever your skill set is at wherever you are in your career, depending on what stage of the build he's in. So that's how I got my last 5-plex.
Yeah,
It was listed for 180 days, and the price started at like 700.
Yeah, I think another thing that affects buy box is who do you have in your network at that time in that area. For example, if I'm looking back to Lafayette and I want to buy another property in Lafayette, I still would not want any kind of fixer-upper. I still wouldn't want anything with any kind of foundational issues, purely because I don't have a general contractor in that area right now that I'm willing to work with and trust. However, if I come over to New Orleans, I'm now more willing to look at fixer-uppers because I have general contractors in New Orleans that I'm willing to work with and that I trust. So I think your buy box is also affected by who's around you, what resource do you have, and who do you have on your network that can turn a potentially bad deal into a great deal because you have the resources to make that a good deal.
Yeah, so we have a question here. Can you share an example of a time when you had to adjust your buy box and why?
Yeah, I recently kind of had to adjust a little bit. I still went with multifamily on my last buy, but gosh, the inventory was just so low, and like the numbers they just weren't working, and we were kind of sending these lowball offers, and it was like, okay, so maybe it's not multifamily, but maybe it's single family with the basement or converted garage, or so when inventory is low, I think that's might be a good cause to kind of change things up.
I like that. You got to be able to pivot. I think that's super important, being flexible a little bit. What about like finding the perfect market or perfect property? Do you guys see like a lot of new investors or people that you guys might connect with that they're always asking you like, what is the best market to invest in, or what is the best asset class? You guys get that a lot?
Yeah,
I
I've
get
been
that
at
all the time.
yeah.
That was like my number one question when I was starting was like, what market do I invest in? Because I was in Maui, and I'm like, I'm not going to invest in Maui. It's way too expensive. I was priced out of it. So I knew that I was going to be a long distance investor, and it was so basically the whole US was my option. And it was like sometimes when you have too many options, it can be overwhelming, and you're like, well, I should pick the best market. How do I know? And I ended up in Florida, but that was just a little bit of like circumstance, and it's very unique to like who you are. And I looked at Salt Lake City. Because I love to ski, and I was like, okay, this could be great. I could come here in the wintertime and ski and, do work on properties or whatever. But I think that is such a unique question to you based on like, where do you have contacts? Is there somebody that you could use as like a resource, especially if you're not investing where you are? Like if you have a 9-to-5 job and you're living somewhere, I think you should invest somewhat locally if it's affordable and it's decent, because there's so much opportunity that you have to grow your network and find good deals if you are like boots on the ground. But if you're in a place that's really expensive, then I think you should try and find a place where you know somebody, or it's a really, if you don't know someone there, you've been there and you know the market, or you have some unique thing that makes you a little more knowledgeable about the area, because there truly is opportunity everywhere. Like I don't believe that there's a bad place to invest. Like there's so much opportunity anywhere you go. If I've learned anything during this time, I've seen people successful in every single market. So it comes down to like you personally and what's going to make you successful wherever you choose to go.
Why not
Uh,
Idaho?
Idaho actually was one of um, the fastest growing cities during the pandemic. Boise, Idaho was. But I should have, I mean, I still could. I probably will eventually invest more in Idaho. It is actually a great market. And I do have a lot of resources there. But I just didn't want to deal with the snow. That was something that I didn't want to have to deal with, snow removal. And I know what the winters are like there. And I was doing short-term rentals, and short-term rentals don't really work there. If I was investing in Idaho, I would probably do like small bay warehouses or like industrial commercial or something like that. Maybe storage.
I think
Landlord
we
Odyssey has stopped by, so just giving him a shout out. So his channel is in the comments. But go ahead, Stan.
I think what you said about having contacts in an area is absolutely crucial. Even if you go on numbers and you say, like, I'm just throwing out a random city, like, let's say that your numbers tell you that Cleveland is the best city to invest in by the numbers, but you don't know a single property manager in Cleveland and you are nowhere near Cleveland, that's probably not the best market for you. You can find the perfect house that looks amazing on paper, but if you don't have someone that's able to take care of that house and do what's needed to make sure the house is well maintained, well taken care of, the rent is collected in a timely manner, you have someone that's screening tenants for you to place them, that supposedly great investment on paper is going to turn into a very bad investment very, very quickly. So that's one of the things I tell a lot of people is before you even worry about where the ideal property is on paper, think about where do you have connections, where do you have, like, where do you can you personally get an advantage in a specific market that will give you a bit of a leg up against other people in that same market. For me locally, like, the big thing I have is having a local knowledge. Like, I know these neighborhoods, I know where the people want to rent, I know where the where the good neighborhoods stop. So having that kind of knowledge is invaluable.
It's not always easy in New Orleans.
No, that's why me having that knowledge in New Orleans is so valuable, because a lot of older cities, you have these amazing neighborhoods, and then they suddenly stop. Like, you have these $1 million mansions on one street, and the very next street it looks like dilapidated buildings that no one's lived in for 20 decades. And if you're not in the area, you're not always familiar with what's causing that. Why is that? Like, where is the path of progress? So that's very, very valuable for especially older cities where that's very common, like Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Chicago, like older cities that have been building up for the last 200 years. It's not really as large concern in, say, Houston or cities that are built in the, like, have developed a lot more in the last 50, 60 years, because they're not quite as mixed together as the older cities are.
Yeah, and Curtis, I forgot if it was on the episode that I interviewed you. I know we talked on it off camera, but you were talking about that, you had the thoughts of investing out of state in Gary, Indiana with Millennial Mike also. So, what's the thought process behind that for you?
Yeah, and I think if you're new and you want to go out of state, that's a good idea. But when you're talking to these property managers or agents, you may not even know what makes them good. Like, you may not even know what the characteristics are. So, like, for me, I'm starting where I live. I'm managing it myself, so I know what's supposed to actually be done. So that way, if I ever do go out of state, I know what questions to ask. I'll know, okay, are they feeding me a bowl of BS here, or are they actually on their game? And so I think that's kind of the balance that you have to have, is that if you're new, at least practice interviewing people around you first before you go out of state.
Oh, we got Josh stopping by. Or he goes by Martin Properties. I keep wanting to call him his REI Stoners, but he goes by Martin Properties now. But he has a cool YouTube channel also. So he's He's close by you, Curtis?
Yeah, he's about 30 minutes away.
Cool. Yeah, I'll post his YouTube channel in the comments also, so you guys can go give him a follow also. But we all know why his original name he had to change probably. He's trying to be professional now. Oh yeah, he had his dad up, so he's been living life. He said. But here I'll post his YouTube channel, so go give him a follow out there. But yeah, I also saw something interesting. I don't know if it might have been in the school community. I forget, but I'm losing track of things. But Zuber was talking about how someone's question was about finding a home run on your first deal, and should you settle for a base hit? So I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that.
I say
Go for the base
absolutely.
hit.
Go for it.
For
Yeah,
a
base
home
hit's
run?
not a bad thing.
Oh, okay.
It's I think you should just get in the game. The longer you wait, the less experience you'll have, the less confidence you'll have. Like I feel like 80% of real estate investing is having the confidence to go for it. Like, many of us have said here at first, you're thinking, looking at these apartment complexes, staring at them going, gosh, I wish I could someday have something like that, but I'll just start with a single family house. Like if you never get started with that one small single family house, you'll never get to the point where you have the 15 unit apartment complex. So you just got to go for it.
I think it's worse than that. I think it's an excuse. I think that it's kind of egotistical to think that you know what a home run even looks like if you don't know anything yet. So just buy a base hit. I mean, not trying to be mean. I am a little bit, like, get something.
Spur them into.
Yeah, but I have a handful of friends, not going to point any fingers. They probably don't watch this stuff, which might also be why they haven't bought anything yet. But they've been looking for the perfect deal forever and need to just buy something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, but he did change his tone. He did kind of say like, you got to at least know kind of what I guess is a good deal, and he definitely kind of was like, yeah, you kind of just got to get in the game. But we also got Josh Burdick stopping by, so I put he has a cool YouTube channel too, Rumble Seat Rider. So I like it. So he has some cool stuff out there, and then we got my man Janitor on Fire. He has a new channel, Postal Nerds, out there. So he's gonna be retiring soon from the postal service. What he's going through like small post offices in his neighborhood and kind of showing you these little kind of postal operations that like you don't really realize are out there, I guess, in these small communities. But he was kind of talking about how I guess that UPS, FedEx, they're not required to serve everyone, right? Where the postal services, they have to provide service for all communities, and that's why a lot of times maybe you got to pay a certain amount for stamps or whatever in bigger I guess post offices, right? But that's because it has to fund all these other smaller postal cities. But it's pretty cool, so go check it out. His channel's down there too. And Ned, we kind of was talking about like the base hit home run, but I think that's how we came up on the whole dating thing, right? Like I like that's kind of my mindset, where if you're just waiting to find a wife or a spouse, right? You might be waiting a long time, right? And that's kind of what dating and these dating apps are for.
Yeah.
Is you get out there and you see what might be you're compatible with, or what you're interested in, or who you connect with, and that's kind of how we kind of got on it and kind of joking around. But anyways, I think that's how I look at it.
One thing you won't realize is a lot of like more rural post offices are privately owned and leased by the post office. Those are really good investments.
For the entire base hit analogy, I think there's two really good points to bring up with that. Even a base hit is going to give you immense amount of experience. Like if you just get that first property, you'll learn how to manage it. You'll learn how to screen attend. You'll learn how to do research on rent. So a base hit will give you so much experience and so much knowledge to go for the next property afterwards. And the other thing with real estate, I'm trying to remember the exact quote. It's don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Because if you wait for 10 years to find a quote unquote home run and never pull the trigger, meanwhile, if you buy a base hit now, give it 10 years, rerun numbers, it will be a home run at that point. You have 10 years of rent prices going up. You have 10 years of getting rental coming in, 10 years of profit coming in. If you just buy a real estate that is reasonable and a base hit, it will turn into a home run given enough time. And once you have that asset under your portfolio, simply having that asset gives you so many more options when you're ready to upgrade. Hey, after 10 years, that property, it's got 10 years of equity that it can use to put into another property. You can use that as a down payment. There's just so many more options that are available to you just by having the asset under your belt to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'm not a baseball guy. I'm a football guy, right? So it's just kind of just moving the ball down the field slowly but surely, right? Like if you just try to throw bombs and get the home run, well, you're gonna turn it over. Like it's just like you're not gonna really get the progress that you need, and you need to stay in the game.
Well, speaking on football, some investors need to get a what do they call that? A play timer. If they wait too long, they get a foul.
Yeah, the play clock, right?
Come on.
You're gonna get penalized if you wait too long. And Curtis wants to say he's a Chicago Bears fan like me.
No, stop with this propaganda.
But yeah, we have a lot of people in the comments saying base hit. Yeah, they agree. So Martin Properties, Josh, Burdick.
Oh, look at that PSTO.
Yep.
I didn't realize.
Tell you, man. Postal and their janitor on fire. Daryl is a wealth of knowledge, and he's going to be coming out with another channel soon. So he's just trying to figure out the logistics of everything, camera and playing around with it. But same thing, right? Same thing with real estate, right? Kind of like your YouTube channel and Curtis and Ned, right? You kind of just got started and you're figuring it out as we go, right? So Stan and Lauren will be coming out with theirs soon and just figuring it out. And Trade Better 99's here. So anyone hasn't his interview, I did an interview with him and that one's out today. So this morning, so go check it out. It's a super inspiring story. I don't want to give too much details, but he kind of beat cancer and kind of changed his thought process also on investing in stocks and real estate. But Trade Better agrees with you, Curtis. Dinks and dunks are the unsung hero of football.
Thank you. It looks like Martin Properties had a question.
Oh, right there. Oh, right there. Okay, let me put it on there.
What does your food budget look like, and do you eat fast food? Question for all of us. As far as fast food, no, I definitely don't eat fast food much. As far as food budgets, I will flat out admit I probably spend a lot more on food than I probably should. When I first moved to New Orleans, one of the earliest things I did went on TripAdvisor, looked at the top 50 restaurants in New Orleans, and I've just been working my way down the list. So I probably eat out like any kind of restaurant that looks cool. Like when I'm traveling, I'm trying to go to like the top restaurants to get the best cool food experience. TripAdvisor is my go-to. I went down to Peru last month. TripAdvisor just went on there, whatever city I was in, looked up the top restaurant and went there. And I just enjoy good food.
You got to get on my wife's Apple Notes. She's got like 150 restaurants and they're ranked.
Oh.
She's an analyst like you. The two of you together, you have like spreadsheets everywhere.
I want to see where you guys both fell on each other's spreadsheet, your dating spreadsheet. That's what I want to know. Like what?
I'm so jealous that you have good restaurants. I'm in Ocala, Florida, and if anyone's ever been here, it's the most abysmal culinary scene that ever existed. All there is fast food, and I have not eaten fast food in over a decade. Like I am against it, partly because I used to live in Santa Barbara, and they don't allow drive-through there. There's like one McDonald's that's a drive-through that was there before they made that rule, but there's no drive-through Starbucks, or they don't allow drive-through. So
Yeah.
I haven't eaten fast food in a long time, and I spend way too much money on food because I make my food at home and I go to like the expensive grocery store and I buy organic. And I was just spoiled coming from Maui. I had like a papaya tree on my property, an avocado tree. And then I came here to this food desert where they were all like, "Do you want some Chick-fil-A?" And I was like, "No, I want my fresh vegetables and my garden." So now
Don't talk bad about my Chick-fil-A.
I know
Yeah.
everybody's like, "I can't believe you've never had Chick-fil-A." And I'm like, "No, it's like a cult here."
Yeah.
I feel like
You know, the funny thing is when I go to North Carolina, that's the first time I ever had it when my son's mom's from North Carolina. But it came to Hawaii now, and I haven't been
oh,
there once.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, see,
there's
it
like
wasn't on
yeah,
Hawaii when I was there.
yeah. So there's a
Before.
2 or 3 now.
They're growing. I mean, they're taking
If you're on a
over.
diet trying to lose weight, just order the 30-piece chicken nugget from there. I think it's like $15, 100 grams of protein, low carb. Way to go.
For a drive-through experience, come down to New Orleans. We got drive-through daiquiri shops here. We'll give you like alcohol right out the window as you drive on by.
That's crazy. Driving while
Now,
Drive-through
just don't
daiquiri.
put the straw in because then it's an open container.
uh
Yeah, but if you open the top, they can't tell. Just don't drink too much of it.
yeah.
I never said that.
Just tell them you asked for a bigger cup. They only filled it halfway out.
As far as food spots, like we are so spoiled in this, like just where I'm at. Let's see, we got an Israeli restaurant, Indian, Korean, Vietnamese, French. We're getting a Peruvian, a Spanish. We have charcuterie board. We have a lot of local restaurants, and all that list is just a 10-minute walk from my house. So that's not even all of New Orleans. That's just what I can walk to.
That's incredible.
All right,
Yeah.
Lars, thanks for stopping by. I know he just arrived in Hawaii for the RimPack event, so I'm gonna try and meet up with Lars while he's in town. But thanks for stopping by, man. And then Janitor on Fire also says Chick-fil-A is awesome or rocks because they're courteous and professional, and they always get your order right, and the food is good. Yeah, I gotta agree.
They're gonna get it wrong now unless he knocks on wood. You messed up the trend.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Josh, to answer that question, I eat like crazy. I'm a big guy, and it's a habit I'm trying to stop. But because I house hack and I basically live for free, I don't really track food expenses. Now I've had to track expenses because I'm doing this 75-day like challenge thing. But yeah, the food is definitely one of my larger expenses.
Hey, why don't you touch on that then, since you brought up we kind of touched on it during the interview, your 75-day hard challenge, how kind of you ran into Zuber at an event, right? And he kind of brought that up, and that's kind of where it started from for you.
Yeah, so there's like certain daily tasks that I have to do. Some of them are kind of work on the hard skills of the real estate game, and some are more like soft skills. So I have to like look at my market twice a day for 15 minutes, analyze two deals to find the yield, read news articles for like half hour, and then some of the softer skills are like meet one new person in my market every day, and then track expenses every day, and then at the end of each week, kind of do like a review cap of everything. And it's been kind of interesting, especially with the expenses part, because like, holy smokes, that's really how much I'm spending on food or, gas or something like that. But it's been really cool to build like a list of people, of agents and contractors and lenders. And by the end of this thing, I'm going to have quite the contact list.
Cool, I like that. So Hugo from Stay Winning has stopped by, so put his channel also in the comments. But I'll admit, I think because you guys don't have kids yet, or a child, I probably eat a little bit more fast food than when I didn't have a kid. I didn't eat a lot of fast food. It's a bad habit, but sometimes it's just like you're on the go and you're on the run, and it's just like, and sometimes I feel like cooking or buying food, I waste so much food too because it's just me.
Yeah.
And then if he's not with me, and then if he is with me, he's a little bit picky. So a lot of times we buy stuff and we cook, and then it's just like wasting food sometimes. So yeah, I mean, not the greatest habit, but sometimes, and there's so much activities for kids now. I don't remember being that busy when I was a kid. Like, we had seasons. We had like baseball season, but now it's like baseball year round. You have like games on Saturday and Sundays, or then you have like computer classes, taekwondo. It's just crazy, man. There's so much stuff going on. That's my excuse.
So what's your favorite fast food place? Is it Chick-fil-A?
I like Chick-fil-A, but like I said, I haven't been there. Well, because it's not close by me where I live here. I mean,
Mm,
but you know, yeah. I mean, McDonald's, I guess. I mean, I don't like, but it's the easiest to get my son to eat.
hmm
But yeah, Chick-fil-A is good. So, have you guys? Oh, so you guys don't eat fast food a lot, but have you tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich and the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? That's kind of like
Well,
the.
first off, Popeyes outside of Louisiana is not the same restaurant. Not even close.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because the recipe for the spicy chicken is not the same outside of the state. It's like our chicken is spicier than y'all's. So it's like
Oh,
literally
really?
not even. Yeah, the recipe varies depending on state a little bit because the palates of people outside of our state just don't want their food as spicy. So when I
Interesting.
have like the spicy, I'm like, this is mild. What is wrong if I'm not in Louisiana?
Oh, since you bring that up,
Yeah.
Curtis, you had a hot sauce on your page. What was it called?
Yeah, it's like Murder in the Hornet. I went to some event last night, and they had this ring toss game where if you got it on, then you won the free hot sauce. Well, well, the guy, I don't know why he did this, but he only had me back up so far. But I have really long arms, and so I just like reached and I just put it on. That was that.
So I'll put Curtis's Instagram page on there. So if you want to go check out that hot sauce, it looked kind of scary a little bit, but you gotta go check it out. But Trade Better says Popeyes is way better than Chick-fil-A. You know what? I have to agree. I like the
Wow.
Popeyes chicken sandwich. Yeah.
They just
And then
built a new Popeyes right down the road from me, and I hadn't heard of Popeyes before moving to the South.
Yeah,
what?
it's originated in New Orleans. I don't eat fast food. I've never eaten at a Popeyes, but I have to give my vote just because it's our local fast food.
Yeah.
All right. If you haven't eaten Popeyes while on a Mardi Gras parade route, like you're doing it wrong, dude.
Like for Mardi Gras, we are very, very spoiled. Like the Airbnb house we have, it's right on the Mardi Gras route.
Oh
So
my
for us to go to
gosh.
all the parades, we wake up, we set our tarp down, we bring our own food, we bring our own tent, we set up our table. So all our food last year was home food, like catered food that we just brought in.
Oh,
We
so lucky.
we were in the very front row. Like we had trying to remember the actor's name, the guy who played Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother. He was on the parade, so I got to yell at him. He threw me some beads. So like we were right on the barricade. Like we were front row for every single parade.
With both of you
That
guys
would have been
and
that
Matt
much
being
better
in,
with Popeyes.
I'll bring Popeyes next year.
we're gonna have to do a trip to New Orleans because so many of you guys are there.
Welcome
Like
to come.
one of
It's
those meetups that Joel did, but we won't invite Joel because he didn't invite us to his.
Yes, but you didn't invite us to your equestrian mansion or whatever this thing you listed on Instagram is.
That's just a property. That's not, it was, I didn't have an event.
Lars says the easiest way to lose weight is cut out fast food and reduce or eliminate alcohol. Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah, alcohol's a
Oh,
big one.
Trade Better says, yeah, Neil Patrick Harris is the
Yeah.
actor you're talking about.
Yeah, I had a brain fart there for a second. He was the king of one of the crew floats. I can't remember which crew it was. I want to say it was the crew of Orpheus. Essentially, each one of the parades is a separate social club, and they probably put on a specific parade, and it's just about 3 or 4 of them to get together per day to put on 3 or 4 parades per day, and that just lasts for 2 months. And some of the larger crews, they bring in celebrities every year. They have some pretty big names each year.
Before I pop up,
trying to start a fight.
yeah, I do want to start with Martin Properties first, and I hope he's gonna switch from being a Lakers fan since they drafted LeBron's son. You can't draft Bronny, come on. But anyway, Trade Better says, what are the best gumbo spots in New Orleans?
Oof.
That's why I said he's trying to start a fight. Like that's because everybody's mom makes different gumbo, so there's not like a set recipe. It's supposed to be what the leftovers for the week are, all thrown in a roux from the fridge.
Yeah, plus the smaller things like, are you getting Creole gumbo? Are you getting Cajun gumbo? Do you want the chicken andalou gumbo, or you want the seafood gumbo? There's
is it
so
thin?
many.
Is it thick?
Yeah.
Is it a stew or is it a soup? Yeah. I'd like to stay y'all's friends, so let's just skip that.
If you have a Cajun restaurant or a Creole restaurant in the French Quarter, chances are it's at least decent to very good, because there's so much competition for restaurants in the French Quarter that if you're not good, you're not going to stay in business very long. So if you're just trying to get good seafood, just about any restaurant will have something pretty good for you.
I've got a friend who, whenever his family launches a different, because they do their restaurateurs, they make like chains. They'll make like 5-10 restaurants and flip them to like a investment group. They will test ideas here to see if they survive, because it's so much harder because you can just walk across the street to a better restaurant. But like if it will work in New Orleans and at least kind of break even, it'll print money somewhere else.
Wow. I didn't know this about that there were so many good restaurants there.
There's an overabundance of like quality food in this in the city in general.
Josh Burdick says, In and Out. F the what?
Yeah, I mean they do hand cut their fries there.
Yeah, I enjoy. I only had it a few times.
Yeah, I think I've had it once, like forever ago.
We can actually tie this into real estate.
Okay,
Does anybody else look at where they're building or where restaurants are to figure out where good properties and good deals could be? Because I definitely use Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks.
You know, that's what Homes and Hustles was talking about. Sierra was talking. I think she might have posted it on X, but she said in her small community or neighborhood in Tennessee, I forget what she said, maybe 1,000 people or whatever, but they are breaking ground for a Walmart or there was a couple of bigger name
there
businesses.
was like a couple of them, I think.
Yeah. So she's like, what's going on here? What do I not know about? But so yeah, that brings up a good point. Like, are you looking? There's so much information out there that you can use to kind of analyze where you may want to invest in. Or Trade Better says Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
If you have someone that's building a new development in an area, that means someone has done research to know that this specific area is going to attract a lot of foot traffic. It's going to attract a lot of attention. So if you're an investor, you can just kind of piggyback on them and go, okay, if they're willing to spend billions to build in this area, I might want to spend a couple $100,000 to buy in this area as well.
Ned, have you seen it flipped where there's stores that you don't want to be by?
Walmart.
Mm.
Walmart, if you own a strip mall and start building a Walmart, sell. Because it's going to hurt your tenants. No, seriously. If you're looking at what's happening around you, like, for example, like, I've never bought in Houston, but I know they don't really have zoning. But the classic example I've heard from real estate investors over there is like, dude, you could build a strip club next to a church. So really be careful about what permits are being pulled and what's being built where, because that'll definitely affect you. It can have not a great effect. So, and it depends on what your buy box is. What properties do you have? You know, if you have a little 20-unit building and they build a bar, you're probably not concerned. If you've got a luxury duplex Airbnb you bought for 1.2 million, and then they're going to build an Arby's next to it, you're probably pretty upset. You know, so I don't think you can just be on autopilot with stuff like that. That's one of the areas where real estate can't really be passive. You need to keep your ear on the ground and listen to what's happening in the neighborhood. Now, I don't advocate being a NIMBY, but you know, I hate NIMBYs.
Where's the comment? Trey Better says all of the non-drive-through Starbucks are closing down in his area.
What area is that?
He is in Virginia. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
Interesting.
Starbucks is one of the few, like, quote unquote fast food spots I probably stop in when I'm on a road trip. Coffee's coffee, and they consistently put up pretty good, yet slightly overpriced coffee.
Yeah. I think Trader Joe's is a good one. Someone said that in the comments too, like a Whole Foods. But Trader Joe's, I feel like, even does more research than like Whole Foods or other grocery stores. Because I swear, every time I see a Trader Joe's, it is packed. So, and I wish they would put a Trader Joe's in my town. I think it would do really, really well. And they were just like, nah, it's not quite. They were looking at it for a while and they decided that it's not quite ready for it. So I think they're really diligent on where they put their locations. Whereas like maybe a Starbucks, they can kind of pop up in areas that have growth maybe a few years down the road, versus Trader Joe's. They're like, okay, we need to make sure that the growth is there now.
Yeah. I think that something to keep in mind is the financial health of the company you're looking at. Like, are they in a growth stage where they're still kind of fragile and everything needs to be a base hit? Because Starbucks can put something up as an experiment and go like, it didn't work. We just lost a few million. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dennis is here. He came out with his first YouTube video also. So I put his first video in the comments, so go check it out. He's in South Carolina, I believe, but he's in the school community also. So he's trying to figure out how to buy box. I think this would be a good episode for him to go look back on. Let's see what else we
Another
got
question
here.
came up. With the lack of zoning in Houston, make it even easier to build an accessory dwelling unit? I was going on Postal Nerds. He asked that question.
Okay.
I don't actually personally know. Like, I've never.
Don't know that market very well.
Yeah, I don't know that market very well. Only thing I looked at over there is 10 to 50 unit apartment buildings. So.
And I know for New Orleans, the zoning has definitely been a giant thorn in our side for quite a while now.
I think another thing to think about is your buy box is kind of like, this is a bad metaphor or example or whatever you want to call it. There's some books I go back and reread because I'll get something different out of them as my knowledge base changes or as my life perspective changes. And the same thing's going to be with your buy box. The tools you have and the knowledge you have are going to change what you see in your buy box, even if you've got the same data set over time.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that one.
What is Dutch Brothers or Dutch Bros?
Oh, that's a drive-through coffee company. They don't have those. They're in pretty select locations. They used to have one in Idaho.
Yeah, Postal Nerd says he likes them better too than Starbucks. And then Josh Burdick says something about Ocala. He thought it was pretty free. He thought he would have decent food options there.
You know, it is actually a decent size, and it should have, for the size that it should have better food options. But there's, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like the culture or I think it's also had such growth in recent times that the restaurants haven't caught up with it yet. A lot of places closed down during COVID. And I think new restaurants will be coming. I've actually seen the construction of 2 new places that look pretty decent. So I'm excited about that. But a lot of the places here don't change their menus also. And there's like 5 good restaurants. So then after a while, you're like, yeah, I've kind of seen everything on the menu. So um, I think if you live full time, if you're just visiting, you can definitely find decent food. But if you live here, then it gets old. We're not like you guys in New Orleans where I can walk within a 10-minute radius and have all of the options. We have like one of everything. So we have like one Vietnamese restaurant, one Indian restaurant, and that's pretty much it.
I think one of the most fun things, one of my favorite festivals in New Orleans is the French Quarter Festival. It's usually a month or two after Mardi Gras every year, but many of the restaurants, they just all pack into the French Quarter. They all put up their individual stalls, and there's over 100 restaurants. Each have their own booths, and there are some of the top restaurants in the city are all participating. So you spend the entire day just walking from booth to booth to booth, trying different food. That's unlimited variety.
That sounds incredible. New Orleans just went way higher on my must visit list.
Well, I mean, we can do a
like
get together. I used to throw masterminds at our farm property.
Oh,
So
what were you gonna say, Curtis?
I was in New Orleans a year or two ago because we cruised out of there, and I did not like the swampiness.
you were there at the wrong time.
Yeah, is there any time of year where it's not unbearable?
Not June, not July, not August.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's like Florida, it's the contrast between the summer and the winter is like night and day. It's like unbearable, terrible to walk out your door and not be in air conditioning. But in the wintertime, it's gorgeous, beautiful, and fresh and not muggy. So yeah, being from Washington, I'm sure it was probably really intense for you that like muggy.
Yeah, it can get pretty toasty here. And I'd say for New Orleans, the best times to visit, my personal favorite would always be Mardi Gras. Second favorite, I'd probably go for Halloween.
Josh said he just had Dutch Bros this morning, or Dutch Brothers this morning, and then Trade Better says Trader Joe's needs a population of 100K minimum plus a large under 45 age group.
Yeah, that's probably what Ocala doesn't have is the under 45 age group. It's like a retirement community here.
Let's see. Oh, Postal Nerds is still here. New Orleans is terrible.
New Orleans.
Let's see what he says. New Orleans is terrible. It's always 90 and 90. It's the murder capital of the world about 50% of the time. Other than that, it's great, and it smells like vomit and urine. That's funny because that's what Hugo kind of said too when he went there for, was it FinCon last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Met him at FI.RE.
Oh yeah, he was like, man. But he just had a bad experience too. Like what happened? Someone stole his credit card. I forget what, or he lost his wallet or something. Yeah, he had a horrible experience there.
Yeah, I'll definitely will give him credit if you go out there in like 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, Bourbon Street is gonna smell less than ideal, but the city does a very good job of cleaning it every single morning. They have the full cleaning crew go up and down Bourbon Street 5 a.m. every single day. So by around 7 a.m., the place is like, I'm not saying it smells like roses or gardens, but it's definitely clean by 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. every day.
Wow.
What's crazy is when I was little, they didn't clean it at all. Like, like you would walk near the quarter and go like, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk the other way.
I think they started actively cleaning more often. No, it was 2 or 3 years ago. They redid the streets on Bourbon Street, and ever since then, they did a much better job cleaning it.
All right, I'm good for about 5 more minutes.
It still had the original drainage from like 300 years ago. It was like old terracotta pipes, like from when they like a little bit after when like pirates settled the area and built because it doesn't flood, which is
What?
why it's there. The French Quarter, it's like high ground. When the city floods, the French Quarter doesn't. But if all the plumbing and a lot of the utilities were put in way back then. So, I mean, it's funny. You look at like a title, if you're buying something in the French Quarter, the original title's in like French or Spanish, depending on when it was built.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of old school drainage and plumbing, that actually reminds me of a really cool town I was in Peru. I'm drawing a blank. I think it's Olichichuan. Essentially, it used to be an old Incan fort. They built aqueducts to bring in water from the glaciers down into the town when it was still the Incan Empire. And they're still using the same aqueducts to bring water from the glaciers into the modern houses now. So it's not like subterranean buried pipes. You can see like a stream of aqueducts, complete open air, running in the middle of town and going into each individual house. And
whoa, that's crazy.
Their water supply. That's their water. That's their drainage.
Is it clean if it's open air?
It looked clean. I mean,
You didn't get sick.
I mean, they use UV filters to kill bacteria and stuff. So if it's just out in the sunlight and they kind of clean it, I could see how that wouldn't kill you.
I survived. I was pretty happy with it.
Well, I'm good for about 5 more minutes. So if you guys want to promote anything you guys are working on or talk about anything else, shoot it out there. Curtis, when's your next video coming out, or what's your next video going to be about?
I did one yesterday as the week 2 review. Might drop another one kind of midweek to talk about good agents versus bad agents, because I've ran into some now and how new people can kind of tell the difference. So yeah, you can find that on PE turned RE.
Cool, man. I guess Dennis's son is in Oahu also for RIMPAC. So him and Lars and Dennis's son are here for RIMPAC, a military kind of training event that goes on. I think it's every 2 years, maybe. I'll put your channel again in the notes. But yeah, when's your next video coming out, Ned?
I have a couple of cuts in the pipe that I mean, we went through and did the walkthrough on the 20plex and stuff, but I've never edited a video before, and he filmed everything separately, and so I'm like, I don't know how to do this, so I have to figure out how to like knit it all together and figure out the audio and stuff. And yeah, there's a reason I just do the Zoom live record and just post it from there. It's way less brain space than going through and doing all the editing stuff.
I agree.
But yeah, Radion's been busy. I just moved my studio. Y'all can see, like, this is the new place that I'm trying. I hate it because this window and that window back there make the lighting to where I have to adjust all the lights and everything as the day changes. So whereas I was in my garage, I just set everything once and that was good to go. So that's been a little annoying. But yeah, I need to get back to where I'm uploading once or twice a week.
Martin Properties is saying keep a lookout for some of his new video coming out. He's probably going to be talking about some new art projects he's working on, some coasters and things. Oh, and Postal Nerds is trying to make up to you guys, I think.
Yeah, he's bringing up Cafe Du Monde. It's one of the landmark cafes in the middle of the French Quarter. Decent coffee, pretty good beignets. If you ever go there and there's a giant line, not worth waiting in line. Like, people line up for literally hours to get coffee and beignets.
Yeah, Cafe Beignet, just one street over, is pretty good too. But Cafe Du Monde, just to give you an idea how much money it makes, the guys in the Ferrari club has like 4 or 5 Ferraris just off donuts.
Oh my god.
And he wears Crocs, right? Is that the guy that wears Crocs you said at the country club or whatever?
Oh no, that's a different guy. That guy would never be a member of a country club.
All right. Well, yeah, this was fun. I think it worked well. We'll see how the 5 people are when I have to edit the clip. So we'll see how it goes. If not, I might have to go back to 4.
I was wondering because you were like, "Oh yeah, when it's 4, it's easier to figure out." And I was like, 5 is making it like even more staggering.
Yeah, so we'll see how it. That was my only concern. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, 4
gotta
is
do 6.
definitely easier, but we'll see. Might have to limit it, or I might have to do 3 a week. It's getting harder and harder to fit
You're getting so
everyone in.
popular. You're doing these a lot.
Well, people are having fun. I have fun with it, so it's fun, and people seem to enjoy it. So try to rotate
Is your
people
channel
in and out.
growing?
Yes, it's growing.
Yeah, he went from 480 like 2-3 weeks ago to 518 now, so he's
Yeah,
got a pretty good click going.
yeah. It
That's
seems to
awesome.
grow. Once it starts moving, then it seems to pick up. And yeah, Josh is chiming in. He said, "Crocs, no." He goes, "I don't." He commented somewhere. He goes, "I don't understand you nut jobs with this Crocs and all that."
I'm with you.
But yeah, it's fun. I mean, as long as you guys keep wanting to do it, I'm willing to do it, and as long as we can kind of work the schedules out. And I like trying to rotate different people on and get different perspectives. So it's fun. So
As long as I'm in town, then I'm always willing to jump on for a session.
yeah, of course, man. All right. Well,
I'm
thanks
looking
everyone.
to get more people for one-on-one stuff, so if anybody wants to do that.
Oh, there you go, Curtis, Dan, Lauren.
I'll volunteer.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If not, I'll be back Wednesday with Joel, Sierra, Matt. I don't know if she knows yet, but we're going to try to get Jess on, Matt's wife. And Jack's going to be on. Jack Stewart, another new guest, is going to be on. He's a Pittsburgh investor. But all right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by.